Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I just want to rewind the clock back 40 years, and I'm going to show you from what was called GOES 3, our old geostationary satellites we used to use in the 80s. And what you can see here is the eruption of Mount St. Helens from 1980. And so on the visible satellite imagery here, it's really quite impressive to be able to see that massive smoke plume. But it shows you where we've come in terms of satellite imagery over the last 4 decades, because this is what modern satellite imagery looks like. And yesterday what we were watching just off of the west coast was a deep upper level low sitting and spinning right here, and it was bringing in quite a bit of precipitation to the west coast, and that included quite a bit of rainfall across parts of California and Oregon, and getting into Washington, and some snow in the Sierra Nevada. Now what I'd like to do for you though is I want to zoom in on this image. So this is a closer view here of parts of California. We did see some locally very heavy rainfall from some thunderstorms. You can see some of the overshooting tops right in through there. But I actually want to draw your attention further west into the state of Nevada, and we'll zoom in yet again. You see those upper level winds, which are coming out of the south-southwest here, were screaming. And as the air hit the terrain and forced clouds to form on the windward side, we were just blowing the tops of them off. Look at that, just straight to the north and northeast like this. Impressive to see that overall. To show you what it looks like from our kind of panchromatic visible satellite imagery from GOES, here is the modern day geostationary satellite view of things, and it's impressive to see this. But just look at the moisture flowing into California, blowing up those thunderstorms there, and then you can see as it got over into parts of Nevada, just the tops of them screaming with the stronger winds that were coming out of the south. Meanwhile, much of the Four Corner states relatively cloud-free, strong winds, and we did see some local areas of some fires breaking out here. So let's talk about this and see where this pattern's going, because in the day today, the two main bits of this story are going to be the increased fire risk and strong wind risk we have in here with our red flag warnings out, and the potential for flooding here in parts of the Pacific Northwest as this deeper trough finally moves on out. We still have winter weather advisories in through part of the Sierra Nevada mountains and getting over into parts of central Nevada too, as this deeper trough, like I said, finally works its way out. But take a look at these winds. This is just the peak winds later on today, so you can see the direction of the flow here. And we will possibly be seeing once again wind speeds that will be gusting, well over the 30 to 40 mile an hour mark into this part of the country here, and that's why we have the increased fire risk. Looking tomorrow on Wednesday, where the main strong winds are going to be, we can see the low pressure emerges here into parts of Montana, and so the flow again is coming into this low like this, and on the eastern side of this, we're going to watch this whole area for the potential for strong to severe storms right in through here. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center's upgraded this to an enhanced risk for tomorrow. Meanwhile, as this pattern breaks and this low finally moves out, with it goes the rain for the most part. We will see an unsettled week for parts of the Pacific Northwest until we get to the Memorial Day weekend. We're going to take a closer look at that in just a few moments here. But going into this, look at the last 72 hours of total accumulated precipitation. We've had some very heavy rainfall across parts of the Pacific Northwest, and many in California are thankful to be still getting this from the sky. Usually we're pulling it out of reservoirs and out of our rivers and streams and groundwater for irrigation efforts this time of year, and to get some precipitation from above is certainly a blessing for a lot of folks here. And those temperatures, while they're cool now, will be moderating quite a bit as we walk through the next 15 days or so. But just wanted to point out to you, we did add some snow here. So look, in parts of the Sierra Nevada, some of the highest peaks picking up 6 to 18 inches of snow in some locations. So cold enough in the upper levels, very high elevations, of course, to be getting some snow. Now what I want to walk you through here is the upper level flow pattern as it evolves through the next 10 days or so. So take a look at this. Here's the deep trough we've been discussing. As we play this forward, you're going to see a reinforcing shot at some cool air with that trough toward the end of the week. But by the weekend, a ridge begins to develop in this area. That's going to change our temperature and precipitation patterns. And the number one thing I'm going to be paying close attention to is what happens with this trough here, kind of over the Aleutian Islands, the Bering Sea, getting back over to this part of Russia. I think that's going to be the critical piece to understanding how our pattern progresses in the month of June. Now, in this particular video, I'm not going to take you out through June just yet, and the reason why is because there's some major model discrepancies I have to reason with here over the next day as I get ready to present to you my long-range outlook. But let's just animate forward how much precipitation we are anticipating here, and you can see that the models are really putting down quite a bit of precip through parts of Nevada, getting into Idaho, eastern Oregon, and Washington, and then over into parts of Montana here. Now, as you look at this, I just want to make a point. The farther you get into the Columbia Basin right in through here, the chances of us seeing any measurable precipitation is low. That's just the effect of the rain shadow, and it's a consequence of the lower resolution modeling here that we miss out on that. But what's going to happen is the gradient from the west to the east is going to be tremendous across this area, such that you're going to go from an area that gets nothing to a couple of tenths of an inch all the way up to 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rainfall as we look out over the next week. Meanwhile, California, things do finally calm down and we go over drier in this pattern, but it's just going to be this area up here that we're dealing with snowmelt. So we've already got our river systems, pushing full with the snowmelt, and then we're going to be dealing with the heavy rain on top of this. Okay, so let's keep an eye on it every 6 hours here by running out the European model, and we'll pause it right there and take you back. Ready? So what we see today throughout the day into this afternoon and this evening, again, the unsettled weather is primarily confined in through this corridor here. And like we said, that winter weather advisory could get some snow at the higher elevations in this part of Nevada. Playing this one forward, we're going to see that throughout much of the next 6-7 days. California, you're on the drier side of this. Most of the precip is going to be in the northwest. What I'm working you through here is Wednesday evening, the overnight hours on Wednesday getting into Thursday morning, afternoon, and evening. So again, it's unsettled here as the secondary trough sweeps through and kind of brings in that other chance for some precipitation in parts of the Pacific Northwest. But going from there, watch what the weekend does. So that system finally moves out by the time we get into Friday evening here. See it go out there, and such that by Saturday, working our way from Saturday into Sunday, much of the target area is going to be, really streaming up here into parts of British Columbia and really possibly just bringing in some precip chances in and around the Puget Sound and that part of Washington. We get through the beginning of next week relatively dry as well. So a big difference between week 1 and week 2 here in terms of precipitation as that deeper trough over the Aleutian Islands begins to develop. So week 2, GFS is over there on the left, European is on the right, both of them showing up with a dry bias for this time of year as we work our way into the very beginning of June. Now, what about temperatures? Well, the cool weather that will be around for a lot of this week is going to be out. It's going to really start to warm up after we finish this week. So take a look at Montana, for example. On the eastern side, temperatures may crack 90, and on the western side, have a difficult time getting out of the low 60s. So as we play this forward, California, 70s. I mean, look at this. This is going to be pleasant, but it's quite cool for this time of year. In the Pacific Northwest, while we get some moderation to the Columbia Basin, much of Oregon and Idaho on the cooler side. So let's play it forward. Go from there into Wednesday. Still got that cooler weather out west. Same thing as we get into Thursday. Now the moderation begins in California first, but the Pacific Northwest, because of the unsettled weather that hangs on from Thursday into Friday, still keeps on that cooler side of things. See here? As we go from Friday though into your weekend, watch the change. Ready? Here comes Saturday's high temperatures, departure from normal, and Sunday. As we work our way into Monday, then the temperatures really begin to crank back up for the western part of the United States, such that as we look out days 6 through 10, you can already start to see the heat coming back in the GFS and in the European model here. So both models keeping that warmth back on track as all of the deeper troughs go toward the Aleutian Islands. And then take a look at days 11 through 15, getting out into the very beginning of June. We're going to go over to some much warmer conditions here, much higher evapotranspiration rates. And beyond this, we're going to have to really analyze what the North Pacific is doing. Because remember, we have this developing weak La Nina, and it's going to be the interplay between the North Pacific and the Central Pacific that I think ultimately governs this pattern moving forward. Okay, I'll bring you that update tomorrow, and with that, I'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Okay, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.